So this final shape is different. How about I just use one of these and modify it? Because look, it's really similar, but it just doesn't have the joint at the end of it. It's got the same dish, it tapers, but instead this becomes like a fingertip because it doesn't have the two ball type joints, um, because there's nothing after beyond it. So what we could do is we can modify that, copy, and we could flatten it. We could get rid of that completely because it doesn't need to be there. There's no function for that. So we're going to flatten that. It does flare out. I mean, we do have that. Let's see. Flatten more of the back. We could go to the brush tool. We don't want it on clay. The symmetry's off, so I'll just wing it without the symmetry. It's kind of, I guess I could have added a cylinder, a dish type form. That might be easier to do because you can visualize it. So let me smooth out what we have. So let's see if we can add a cylinder. Well, we have to do it that way. Yeah, I don't enjoy doing things this way. You know, it's the first time I've had to do it, right? So I'm not quite used to it, but problem is, you know, it takes a half hour to an hour, you know, to do this stuff, and really that's not a lot of time. But video time, it's just like a different culture. People don't want to look at the videos, but if it was a classroom, you'd be there watching it. You know, that's what we were doing. So I guess I would say draw with it, you know, rather than just kind of like, I suppose writing down the description is a way to interact with it, but I think interacting with it is a way to treat it like a class, you know. And I remember when I had to sit through these lectures, it was not easy to do. But at least with this, you could pause, take a break, make some popcorn or something like that, watch a movie, come back to it. So I'm making this kind of disc type shape. The question is, how do I position it in there? Something like that's not too bad. And then push this in a little bit more. Use a drag tool. Something like that, so we can remesh it. Remesh. Go to the smooth tool. Let's see. All right. Break those corners a little bit. All right. Okay. Probably go to move. Something like that. All right, so let's see what that looks like in place. All right. When I was a student, sculpture student, I went to Rodin's house in Paris, outside of Paris, France, and I'm a big fan of Rodin's work. And the back of his house was where he would have dumped, probably when he died, but probably when he was alive too, all his refuse. So like if he made molds, I was going to change the shape of this a little bit. If he made plaster molds of his work, whatever, all the plaster refuse would be dumped off there. For example, they didn't have dump trucks back in the day, right? They just dumped it on their property. And so it looks like these fingertips are all about the same. So anyway, yeah, I found a lot of interesting things when I went there and in the backyard. And one of the things I think I found, I mean, I never really checked it. I've got it. I've still got it. It looked like it was one of these parts. It looked like a distal phalanx of a human finger. It could have been an animal part. Um, I'd have to look at it again, and I might go ahead and look at it just because I'm talking about it right now. But um, I was just reminded of it as I'm going through this, and I always surmise it was probably from a skeleton that he had as a reference, in the studio. Um, but it could be just like some kind of bone, animal bone. I don't know. Um, Guess I should check that out um, for what it's worth. But yeah, that was an interesting. I was really gung ho about that stuff. I'd spend as much time in those museums as I possibly could. I think that was my first trip to Europe. Um, let's see. I got my first. We took our first trip when the plan was once I got a commission as a professional artist. I was still a student when I got that commission, but it was for a couple busts that went to bronze busts that went to a bank, um, of the bank founders, and so we took that money and just went to Europe. Uh, let's see. But I'm not much for traveling. Um, I'm not sure that I really want to go back to Europe. Not for a while, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. All right. All right. So what's the thumb? Thumb's biggest. That part is big on the thumb. So copy it. And enlarge it. Not that big. Let's see. It's like this could be bigger at the bottom, local scale. There we go. So let's see. I don't want to get stuck in here. Um, so that's one way of dealing with the hand. And so uh, you can pose it. These are all posable parts now. We have not a very decent, let's see, we could bring this out because we want to get that transverse arch. So we could I mean that's not too bad. Let's see. I didn't want that finger, the front finger. This is good enough. That's the skeleton hand, such as it is. Probably bring these two while we're at it. We may as well just do this. Bring this back a little bit. Curve that a little bit. Just so we have that transverse arch a little bit more. This could come up a little more. Let's go to the side with that thumb. Let's see. We could go to drag, drag. Let's see. Probably could have added that pisiform bone. Transverse arch. Yeah, I'm nitpicking now. Good enough, good enough.